let's reform the oldest successful campaigning party of my whole adult life, and certainly most people in this country. It's worth doing. It's worth hanging on. The great traditions of Disraeli, the great traditions of Thatcher, the traditions of all of these people that did great things. Winston Churchill, for goodness sake. Why would we leave that alone to join some Johnny-come-lately party?
Hello and welcome to Reasoned UK with me, Darren Grimes. If you enjoy today's show as much as I did, please do consider hitting the subscribe button and that little notification bell that's next to it. That ensures that you don't miss out on any future content. You can also help ensure Reasoned keeps our independent voices online by supporting us via the link in the description. Every little really does help. Anyway, on with the discussion this week. Recently, a new Grassroots campaign was founded by Lord Cruddas and others to boost democratic oversight within the Conservative Party itself, arguing that perhaps the party's existing structures don't allow local MPs and party officials to actually be held to account. And I have to say, it's pretty obvious to me that they've got a point. The party doesn't elect posts like the party chairman, for example, and most recently it doesn't really get much of a say over who leads it ultimately. Now, to discuss the campaign to take back control of the Conservative Party, I'm joined today by Stephen, Lord Greenhalgh, a former minister at the Home Office and the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities. Stephen, thank you very much for your company.
Great to join you, Darren.
Now, Stephen, I want to start by asking you, why is it so important, in your view, for the members and grassroots to actually be heard? Because some might argue, Stephen, and not me, but some might argue that actually that's what was responsible for the disaster of Liz Truss.
Well, those people that would argue that would be, frankly, I think the nice way of putting it, wide of the mark. Let's understand where we are as a Conservative Party. We have nationally not many more than 150,000 members. Our political opponents, I think, are the Labour Party, unless I'm much mistaken. They have over 200,000 members in London alone. And essentially that means that their party activism is hugely greater than ours. And that's why we stand at a massive disadvantage. Because I joined through the voluntary party, and I joined in Richmond, not Richmond, Yorkshire, but Richmond in London. And that was a safe Conservative seat. There was a professional agent called Penny Proctor. And my first political act was put a poster up in my bedroom because my parents wouldn't allow me to put it in the front room. To get in 1979, when I was 12, asking people to vote for Anthony Royal. And then we've seen slowly the activism in that part of London decline. So there's only one councillor left in the London Borough of Richmond upon Thames, one Conservative councillor, and a Liberal MP. And there's absolutely no activism. We need more members on the ground. That is how we build the party. It's not top down, it's bottom up.
So then is it your argument that actually giving people more purchase over what happens within the party itself, that'll actually boost participation within it? And you could have, say, for example, the Labour Party at one point was certainly the biggest social democratic party in Europe. Would it be your view that the Conservative Party itself could be the largest conservative movement in Europe?
It should be, and it will be, provided we do take back control. I don't want to be told. I used to call central office central orifice. I wasn't interested what central orifice had to say when I took Hammersmith Fulham Council. It wasn't given to me. I took Hammersmith Fulham Labour Council, and I took it with a 50% popular vote back in the good old days of 2006, and held it again in 2010. We went for them. We went for them, and we did it entirely because we ignored central orifice. If you follow central orifice, you get nowhere in life. We fought a local campaign with local values, and we had boots on the ground. And that's the kind of Conservative Party I want to see again. Not one that's sort of managed by people that think that, what I call them, the sort of the armchair warriors, the ones that sit at a big desk with a couple of screens and think that they can plan the world from their desk. They can plan absolutely nothing. At the moment, we're going to be completely outgunned as a political party unless we have more members and we take back control.
So do you think, how would you explain, I guess is the question, members and grassroots feeling so completely and utterly disenfranchised, disillusioned? How do you think actually your campaign, the CDO, could actually help ensure people feel empowered and actually want to get involved?
So you're asking basically what's the offer? I
Yeah.
think the offer is that we're going to return to what it was like when I first joined as an 18-year-old in 1986. Members had a say over policy. There were genuine debates. It wasn't just, here's a presentation of our current position dreamt up last week. It was a debate about whether you believed in capital punishment or not. It was one of the great Conservative Party debates in the 1980s. And you could have an honourable position on either side. There were massive debates about positions on Europe at the time, and you could be members of the Conservative Party and have different positions on that too. We're a party, a centre-right party, that must encourage debate and remain a broad church. And having local associations was actually the way to do that. So policy is one element. Electing the party chairman. Why have some person foisted on the membership that has absolutely no connection with the grassroots? That is absolutely wrong. There's often people who have made party chairman who probably never knocked on a door. They've been in a safe seat or barely knocked on a door. I don't know anything about campaigning. So I think electing party chairman is perfectly reasonable as an offer. But most importantly, why should someone deep in central office determine who's your MP? There were a whole host of seats at the last election where people were essentially put in at the last minute, and the associations had little or no say in who's going to represent them, possibly for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up, or at least the Labour Party did. I don't know if you've been reading in the press about Jared OMara. Now, Jared OMara was never meant to win that seat in Sheffield, I believe it was. And actually, you look at some of the examples of people just being, sort of last-minute Larrys, as I like to call them. Actually, if the local associations, and I say that for the Labour Party as well, but I don't wish to do their work for them, that actually you get a local candidate that understands the area, that has a rapport with the people, that surely is not only laudable, but ultimately ought to be welcomed, no?
Well, you've got to be a local figure. I was councillor for 16 years, leader of the council for 6. I still live and work in Fulham. I'm a Fulham, essentially, I moved from Southwest 14 all the way to SW6. Bizarrely, my parents removed from SW6 all the way to SW14. So I'm counter their movement. I mean, it's not very far. It's about 10 or 15 minutes in a car. But nevertheless, if I walk, I'm not known at all, even though I was Deputy Mayor of London, let's say in Islington. But when I sit down quietly in a corner, just because I don't want to be bothered, some lady comes up to me yesterday and says, "Don't you work for the Conservative Party all those years ago? I remember you." And I said, "I don't work for the Conservative Party. I was a councillor. I am a Conservative, but I don't work for the Conservative Party. I've chosen to serve, and I've chosen to get elected and remain elected and try and represent." I've got a bit, probably I shouldn't have answered back, but if someone's going to walk up to you who you don't know and say, "You work for the Conservative Party," you're basically recognised. I'm still recognised anywhere in the borough I go round. I'm essentially more often than not by people who are long-term residents there recognised, because I spent 16 years involved with this part of London, and that means I've got some purchase in this area, and we need more Conservatives that actually are from the locality and they live and represent those areas and they understand those areas. They understand where the deprivation is. They know where the council estates are. They know where the streets are, almost as well as a black London cab driver. It's no good just being parachuted into an area and thinking that you can suddenly represent them effectively.
Do you think CCHQ, Conservative Campaign Headquarters, do you think actually they have
central
central office? Do you think actually they've got a disregard, not just a disregard, but actually a dislike of the party memberships for having the wrong views, right? That actually the Conservative membership maybe are too right-wing or too Brexity or too whatever it might be for them. Is that the problem?
I think there's an issue. Do you remember that film Mean Machine? And it was with Burt Reynolds, and he plays a professional footballer, and he turns around and he's supposed to get all the inmates to play the guards, right. And he played pro, and the guy said, "We're a semi-professional team," and he just went, "Look, semi-pro is a joke." And what he meant by that is, if you're a pro, you have a view that people who are not pros are basically useless. And I think that's the same with people who are professional politicians. I've never been a professional politician. I'm a businessman. I built a company from my bedroom that employs 50 people. I've served as a councillor for 16 years. I did 4 years alongside Boris in City Hall. I did 2.5 years, or nearly 2.5 years, 2 years, 3 months as a Minister of State across 2 departments, which I have to say found really difficult. It was the least satisfying job of my political career to date. But I've always been, first and foremost, a non-politician. I've always done something other than politics. And I've chosen to serve at certain points in my life. I think professional people who are professionally in politics, think anyone who's not a professional is basically a joke. And they couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah. Well, I guess then the next charge that would be put to the CDO is the idea that, and some of the left-leaning media especially are either convinced that the CDO is just a front to bring back Boris, for example, right? In a recent piece in The Spectator, not of the left, but they described the campaign as a Tory momentum being the hard left outfit that was born out of the movement that made Jeremy Corbyn Labour leader. What do you say to those accusations?
Well, it's just complete and utter tosh. I can tell you, I wasn't lobbied to get involved with the CDO, the Conservative Democratic Organisation, but I actually looked at what Peter was trying to do and independently decided that Peter was absolutely right, based on my own experience. Watching the decline of the party that I love and joined in 1986, essentially wither on the vine to the state we are in today, and felt that he had something about this. My support for Boris is there. I can recognise his talents, but that's in a completely different box for me. Irrespective of who's the sitting Prime Minister or the sitting leader of the Conservative Party, we need to do what we're advocating. It's not about a single individual. This is about the party I love needing to have a mass membership in order to be an effective political force in the 21st century. This is a Primrose League moment. We nod back to the 19th century. It's not entryism. I won't have anything to do with an organisation that would allow people to take positions within the campaign who are not members of the Conservative Party already. This is all about being a Conservative and attracting more people of like-minded values to come and join the party that I love.
The members and Grassroots actually being able to, in your view, which I think is what you're saying, forgive me if you're not, but actually members and Grassroots can be the ones to save the party from itself almost. Would you go as far as to say that?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. Let's give you an example of my formative political experiences in Fulham. I would enter a packed room chaired by Dominic Griev's father, Percy Grieve, who's a QC. There would be people like Martin Howe, that's related to Geoffrey Howe, in the audience. Different sides of the political debate. I'd lost a council seat because I tried desperately to stand with a guy, Mike Brennan, who's now the chairman of Spelthorne, where Kwasi is. And he'd been a general election candidate himself. And I was bruised, but I had to make a speech to get them to allow me to be vice chairman of the Fulham Conservative Association. I was really nervous. There's a room packed of 120 people, really seasoned political operators, and I had to deliver a speech. Well, because I got 105 of those votes. But that's the kind of experience you get from being involved in vibrant local associations. Now let's go back to what it would be like in 2023. There'd be about 3 people in the room, and half of them, they'd be half dead. And none of them have done any politics. So let's be honest. Do we honestly think the Conservative Party is going to thrive in the 21st century in that sort of state?
Yeah. What would you say to party members at the minute who are considering potentially scrapping their direct debits and ultimately giving up their membership because actually they feel that the party isn't doing anything, Stephen, on the migration crisis, the English Channel. It isn't doing anything on taxes. They're not happy with the way in which actually the economy is being run. Potentially Brexit, right, where we're being told that actually the Brexit laws through Parliament are going to be delayed. And actually, I've had a conversation with you, and I don't wish to speak out of turn, but I've had a conversation with you in which, you came from a different side of the argument to me on Brexit, but you have even said yourself, we need to make a success of this for Britain. And a lot of party members are looking at this and saying, well, actually, we're not doing that because we're not willing to be bold and brave enough to seize the opportunities that Brexit affords us. So on all of those things, you can see why party members feel a little bit like they want to, forgive my frankness, but shove 2 fingers up to CCHQ in the party, right?
Yeah. We're at a fork in the road. They either shove 2 fingers and watch the Labour Party run Britain for the next 20 years, or they come behind CDO and we get a government that acts with Conservative values that we all share in. Low tax, freedom within the rule of law, self-reliance, seizing opportunity. That is a Conservative value. Seizing the opportunities that Brexit affords. That means not just being a little islander, but going out and taking over. I'm building a business in the United States. I'm building a business that requires me to be incorporated in the continent of Europe. We want to be the pioneers in enterprise in the same in this century as we were back in the 19th century. And there are huge opportunities, and we need to seize them. And the government needs to do more. But to do that, we need members to get behind this campaign, and let's return to real conservative values.
So then some people would say to that, well, actually, there's a party that already is espousing those values, and I'm going to go across and join Reform UK. What say you?
Well, that's a way of ensuring that we stay in opposition for the next millennium. How on earth are we going to be a serious party that's going to govern, as the Conservative Party's done for most of the 20th century, let's be honest, and a lot of the 21st century, by creating a new party? Let's reform the oldest successful campaigning party of my whole adult life, and certainly most people in this country. It's worth doing. It's worth hanging on. The great traditions of Disraeli, the great traditions of Thatcher, the traditions of all of these people that did great things. Winston Churchill, for goodness sake. Why would we leave that alone to join some Johnny-come-lately party?
So then, are you getting any support from parliamentarians, or any parliamentarians saying, actually, I think this is totally the right direction to go down, and my local association would welcome this with open arms?
Well, I think parliamentarians at the moment are focused on the polls, and some of them think they're going to be eviscerated based
Absolutely.
on so a lot of them are, I think, working out what their retirement plans are. Let's be honest. They're staring down the barrel of a gun. They've kind of got used to the idea their association's three people and whatever. I don't know. I'm getting some support, but I think we're seen as a little bit insurgent, not establishment. But I mean, my view is Peter Cruddas is absolutely right. And that's why I back him 100%.
Well, I mean, Peter Cruddas, of course, has form, right? He helped get Vote Leave off the road, right? And that was the biggest, movement, I think, of modern times as far as the success story that it brought about. How do people then, listening to everything that you've just said, right, and thinking, yeah, I want to stay in the Conservative Party, I want to join the CDO, how do they get involved?
Well, it's a very simple website. You can see a link to volunteer. We've got a team of people. Claire Bullivant is the chief executive. The chair is David Campbell-Bannerman.
She's great, by the way, Claire.
I love Claire Bullivant. She's fantastic. She's an absolute force of nature. Adorable, hardworking, a true conservative. And we need more Claire Bullivants, please, stepping forward and getting involved in politics. But look, we need more people. We have got more support. We're getting some more support every day. We are gathering momentum without being Labour momentum. Let's get the momentum from the people there that are Conservatives and want the Conservative Party to change. We'll be a force for good together.
All right, Stephen, Lord Greenhalgh, I'll let you dash off and enjoy your day, but thank you very much for joining me on Reasoned, and I'm sure many party members are going to have lots to say in the comment section of this video, but thank you very much for your time, and best of luck as well.
Thanks very much. It's lovely to chat to you, Darren, and all the very best for your show, and I hope that people step forward as a result of this show.
Reasoned relies upon grassroots donations from people like yourself that want us to continue producing our high quality, free thinking content. So please do consider clicking the link and donating, no matter how big, no matter how small, because it really does ensure that we can keep on keeping on.